one, you bastard!
Brought to you by supporters who probably have better taste than this schmuck.
What is the dumbest Legends class idea Hasbro has ever done? I mean, there's quite a few I could think of, but finding the dumbest is pretty difficult. You could talk about the Prime Masters releasing the same mold over and over and over again, but that's not the dumbest. You could talk about the Authentics, and they are completely terrible, insulting to low-income families, but still not the dumbest. You could talk about re-releasing Revenge of the Fallen Legends class figures for the Legion lineup in Age of Extinction and The Last Knight, but that's still not the dumbest thing they've ever done. You could talk about the lack of a Legion class for Cyberverse. It's a prime candidate for Legion figures, since they all scale the same, and since the designs are simple enough to work at that scale, but that's still not the dumbest. Although the dumbest idea does pertain to Cyberverse. No doubt you've seen some of these Legends figures on the shelf. The Scout class, the budget line for many people. But what's really dumb about it? What is the worst? Well, allow me to show you. So I'm going to start off with the robot mode for this fellow, and that might seem weird now, but trust me, it'll make a bit more sense later. In robot mode, this guy looks okay, I guess. For a sort of Legends figure that's had a bit of its budget gimped, it does the job all right. Kind of fits into the same aesthetic as the Battle Class figures, where you can tell they didn't have the same budget as a fully released Legends figure, but they still tried to do what they could. And for the most part, it's pretty clean. You've got nice, solid legs that do the job well, although there's a reason for that. Minimal kibble throughout, although again, there's also a reason for that. You do get the back of the car sitting there on the butt plate, but it's not egregious. Does the job well enough. The head sculpt is pretty good. I feel it's a little bit big for the design, and I prefer Dead End's mouthed look to that of his mouth-plated look, just because that was the more expressive of the two in the show, but I get why they had it like this. The arms have a nice bit of grey paint on them. They do look really, really cool. I don't really like the way the fists look, though, the way they're pointing up. It's just like, how dare you, how dare you. Although it is cool that we got a 5mm port there in case there's anything you really want to do. Now, this guy does have a gimmick, and oh boy, I really do not like the gimmick. You pull this back, and you activate this thing, and it goes up like that, sort of like a punch. That's why the fist is the way it is, but oh dear, that looks like a Nazi salute, and I do not like it. Oh god, no. That gimmick should have just been left by the wayside. Just do not use that gimmick. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Off, no! And even ignoring that, it's just a really shit gimmick, to be honest. It just really sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. Articulation is limited. You've got a ball joint at the shoulder, and you've got universal legs that kind of just do their thing. Not very well. It's pretty bad for the size, but for the price, I do kind of get it. Of course, size-wise, he's pretty big. Here he is next to a standard Legion figure, a standard Core Class figure, a standard War for Cybertron Micromaster, and Crumbs. And of course, for dimensions, he is roughly 6.5 centimeters by 9.4. Now, for my complaints with the robot mode, I do kind of get it. The budget's a little bit limited, everything kind of goes weird. So I do kind of get it. My faults don't really lie with the robot mode, except for the gimmick that I won't show again. Oh, I also forgot to mention he has a waist swivel from the transformation, but the backpack really stops it from happening. But most of my issues lie with the transformation. You push this together, bring the arms down, bring the front of the car down, bring the arms up, and rotate the waist around, and that is essentially it. He doesn't transform fully. He doesn't what the fuck? So this is my main issue with this entire size class. They've basically just taken the easy way out. Instead of actually designing proper transformations, they've decided to have half transformations. So you know those girl walk modes you take out of jet modes just for shits and giggles? Well, they've decided to make an entire line out of that. Because that's what kids want, right? They want Transformers that don't even transform properly. Seriously, what the f are they doing? This is by far the stupidest decision I have seen Hasbro do in recent memory. There is virtually no reason to do this. Years ago, we got Legion class Robots in Disguise figures. And you know what? They were successful. They were stocked in practically every supermarket as well as every toy store, and they consistently sold as kids' pocket money toys. But no, just get the f out of there, I guess. You gotta give it this shit instead. It's one of the things that I find very difficult to talk about. One of those really bad ideas and bad executions that is just bad at surface level. You don't need to talk about it. You can just see how awful it is at first glance. It is awful. And of course, you've still got the gimmick back there that does that so he can do a Nazi salute in a half-transformed alt mode, because that's totally what the character was known for, because racism is fun, I suppose. Seriously, I hate this thing. I really hate this thing, and I hate the whole line too. The closest we got to anything good was the Scraplet, which didn't even transform anyway, which just doesn't matter because it's not supposed to transform. At this rate, just make Action Masters, or just make the transformation proper. Pick one of the two, don't just do this half-assed bullshit like this. These did not sell at all. This was a terrible idea, and every consumer on the planet knew it. These things were shipped out in droves to supermarkets after they had been shelf warming in retail stores for God knows how long. And as someone who does work part-time in a retail store, I consistently got returns on these. I wasn't allowed to process any of them because they'd been open and it was just a change of mind and we couldn't resell them because that's just store policy, but consumers felt they were duped and it was false advertising because Transformers are supposed to transform and these don't. The amount of times I had to call a manager over this bullshit was ridiculous. I thought maybe I could get some fun out of this because it's Dead End, one of my favorite characters from the show. I really like Dead End. He's a brilliant character in the 3rd season, but no, I can't find any thing from this. I am so glad we're getting a warrior class version so I can just pretend this thing never existed. Can't even sell this off because no one will buy it. It is just bottom of the barrel. Doesn't deserve to exist. One of the most stupid ideas that I've ever seen Hashtag do. Not even gonna bother with the size comparisons or the dimensions because this thing sucks. Goodbye. Don't come back here again. I don't want to see you. I really love Cyberverse Dead End. He is my favorite character in the entire show. This was the only figure we had of him for a time, and that just felt insulting. I mean, yeah, now we got the warrior class version coming out soon, ye, but still, this is an insult to the character and an insult to everyone's intelligence. Transformers, the act of transforming from one thing to another. These figures don't even do that. They go halfway. Is that not absurd to you? Of course, these shelf warmed like crazy. The only people buying these were people getting duped. And those people were insisting on returning it and having it sent back to the factory because they were faulty. And I can tell you right now, the core of these designs is faulty. The fact that Hasbro thought this was an okay idea to release was a faulty form of logic. So yeah, people had every right to be as pissed off about these as they could be. And I'm glad they stopped making them. They're a piece of shit that doesn't deserve to exist. And nothing of value is lost. I'll tell you one thing of value that was lost. Some of the creativity in the other lines. Tomorrow, we're going back to the War for Cybertron trilogy, continuing the Battlemaster lineup. And if you know anything about what they did with the Battlemasters in Earthrise, you know we're about to deal with some pain.